Okay, so let's talk a little bit about raw versus cooked. We're talking about food here. Raw food would be something fresh, something picked fresh, something right out of the garden, right out of the ground. You haven't cooked it, you wipe it off, wash it, whatever you gotta do, and just eat it fresh the way it is. As opposed to taking that whole food and maybe cooking it, whether that be frying it, baking it, steaming it, anything that's gonna take it above about 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which would kill some of the enzymes, break some things down in there. So why would we want to eat raw? The reason we want to eat raw and fresh is, number one, in my opinion, is because of the life force. You know, we are electrical beings, constantly on a hunt looking for electricity. Where do I get that electricity? By breathing. Every time I take a big deep breath, I'm getting electricity. Every time I get out into the sun, I'm putting my solar panels out into the sun, I'm getting electricity. Every time I grab something and put it into my mouth and start to chew it, there's an electrical force that starts to stimulate and feed my body. Now that electricity also creates what's called peristaltic action, which causes my digestive system to move. But there's a level of energy that I'm getting from that food. And when it hasn't been cooked, it literally has a higher life force. There's actually Kirlian photography where you can take a peach or a strawberry or a spinach leaf and simply take a photo of it and you can see the electric current that's coming off of it. And that's really what we connect with. That's really what we're getting, one major component. And then we're getting vitamins, we're getting minerals, we're getting fibers, we're getting all kinds of amazing things from foods. Now, when you cook a food, essentially what's happening is you're killing the enzyme content. Now, that's okay because our body produces enzymes. We can produce enzymes to break down foods, but when we eat a food like an apple or a banana or any type of green or carrot or these types of things, they have their own enzymes in them. So essentially they start to break themselves down and they help with the process of digestion. So when we cook something and we kill those enzymes, essentially our body has to go through a little more work as far as producing enzymes and breaking down the food. Now, what I would say is when you cook foods, you can actually concentrate certain nutrients. Like when you cook a tomato, for example, you actually concentrate the lycopene. So in some cases, cooking foods, again, in my opinion, can be really healthy for concentrating certain nutrients. But eating mainly fresh and raw foods, I believe, is the way to go. You know, I believe we should be eating anywhere from 60 to 80% fresh whole foods. And the more you're closer to that 80%, you're going to be feeling better, you're going to be looking better because our body's not having to produce as many enzymes. It's getting a lot more life force directly from the food, and it's just fresh and it's the way it's meant to be. Now, you know, there's different kinds of cooking as well. I would recommend avoiding frying food with oils, specifically because some oils become, you know, toxic essentially when we cook them. I would, prefer that someone does more like baking or steaming. And I do think it is absolutely healthy and great to steam broccoli and steam certain types of foods. In fact, the ancient Egyptians said if you could not crush a food with your hand, so if you took like a carrot and tried to crush it and get juice out of it, you couldn't do it. They said foods like that needed to be cooked in order to be digested properly. So that's kind of interesting. I'm just giving you a few different philosophies here. But things like, capsicum, things like an orange, things like even apples, you smash it and the juice will come out. So those things would be eaten more fresh. So I recommend, like I said, anywhere from 60 to 80% and more like 80%. And if it was up to me, I would have everybody eat fresh and raw foods all day long up until about 5 o'clock. I call it raw till 5. And eating raw till 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock rolls around, you decide to have some dinner, have some steamed vegetables, have a baked potato, make some different soups and things, lentils and things like this can be fantastic. And if you prepare them properly, by soaking and rinsing them for a couple of days, they naturally soften. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to cook it, and that's the way lentils and beans, kidney beans and things like this have been prepared for thousands of years. High in protein, high in amazing nutrients. So when it comes to raw versus cooked, my opinion is not 100% raw all the time. I believe that we should be cooking some foods, steaming some foods, making some soups, enjoying that type of stuff, especially in the colder seasons. And really taking in a lot of raw plant-based material. For me personally, I like to have only fresh fruits or easily digestible foods first thing in the morning because our body's in a process of detoxification. Once noon rolls around, then I'll start having your denser foods, salads, sandwiches, wraps, sprouted grain bread, things like this. And for dinner is typically when I'll have some steamed vegetables, some hot soups, maybe soup and salad, thing of that nature. So I hope that helps. Raw versus cooked. Thanks for watching.